Dana White, we don't need you in boxing. There seems to be like this general consensus that if he comes in with Turki Al-Sheikh with their new little boxing league, that he's going to completely revolutionize the sport. And I just don't believe that to be true. If he, first off, in his own sport, they don't even want him there. Everyone's talking about, oh, his matchmaking, he's gonna put the best fights on. That's already being done with Turki Al-Sheikh. The problem is just, do the fighters want to fight? But thinking that Dana White is gonna all of a sudden come in and build up the sport to this megalithic era, that's just a false lie. Right now in the UFC, he can't even put John Jones and Tom Aspinall together. He can't even correct his bantamweight division. Sean O'Malley versus Merab 2. Nobody wanted that matchup. Kai Azakura versus Pantoja. Nobody wanted that matchup. Kai Azakura was coming over from kickboxing, then did like 2 MMA fights, then fought for a title. And somehow magically Dana White is supposed to put the sport back together when his own sport is falling apart, and now he's leaving to boxing for that oil money with Turki Al-Sheikh. I just don't see any positives coming from Dana White. Now, I guess you could say from a popularity standpoint, the UFC, ESPN, MMA gets hundreds of thousands of likes, millions of views. They got some stars, probably more stars in the UFC than boxing, or to a larger degree. But when you could say he could bring more eyes because he's a more popular promoter than a Eddie Hearn or Bob Arum. Like, for example, Bob Arum and Dana White, they're on ESPN together, yet if you look at both Instagram pages, it's just completely different scales of likes, follows, and comments. More engagement on the UFC side. But I don't see Dana White coming into boxing and bringing that kind of popularity or fame or whatever. Now, one thing that might help with it is the TKO boxing league, is it? With Turki Al-Sheikh, he's setting up his own little thing with his own belt, even though he just bought Ring Magazine. They're setting up a boxing league so everybody's under one umbrella. Now, that could help with the popularity of it, but is the amount of belts in boxing the problem? Because everybody's quick to say, oh, 4 belts is too much, 4 belts is too much. Boxing is an international sport. Every country in the world can box. That's why you have, like, I think it's intercontinental belts. You got European champions, you got Hispanic champions, you got Canadian champions. Even in the United States, you have a bunch of different belts. And now, yeah, that can cause confusion or whatever, but the barrier to entry is much larger than a one organization like the UFC. So it makes sense that everybody can kind of get a chance to shine. Like, if you go become the British champion, in America, in the WBC champion might look at you and want your title now that you kind of established yourself in some sort of way. So I don't think less belts is the problem in boxing. It's more of matchmaking. No, not even matchmaking, because you got guys like Inoue fighting the top guys in his division every single 3 months, right? But nobody knows who's he's fighting. Luis Neri, I think maybe he was the champion. He's finna Cardenas, he fought a few other guys. Nobody really knows the lighter divisions like that. And so it's, I guess it is a popularity issue, but is Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh gonna solve that? Specifically Dana White. I don't think so. If you go back to the UFC, look at his little organization. They're starting a petition with hundreds of thousands of signatures to strip the title from Jon Jones, right? Jon Jones, he's been sitting out for a year after fighting Stipe Miocic, who sat out for 2 years, then got a title shot. And then you go back even further, beyond that fight, he sat out for another year after beating Cyril Gane, after coming back after 3 years of a drug suspension. Is that like top level matchmaking? Is holding back Alex Pereira for Magomed Ankalaev top level matchmaking? It seems like they're doing the same thing that's happening in boxing, but simply because it's one organization, it's easier to know all the faces. There's only one list of top 15 fighters. It's just like MMA as the whole sport is completely the UFC. There is no split. There is no PFL that people are going to watch. There is no Bellator. I think UFC just bought Bellator or something. So I don't see how Dana White comes in and changes the sport of boxing. It looks more like Dana White is being pushed out and now is like changing into the sport of boxing. Maybe like that brings, because he's a bigger name than Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn and I guess whoever is on PBC now that Al Heyman's gone. Maybe that brings a little bit more eyes, but I seriously doubt it. And then 2, that's about it. Dana White can't change the sport of boxing. It is what it is.